overexert yourself. We seen Crawford get his second win at range. What happened when you in close and you rumbling and you got to get that second win? You taking repeated shots. This guy is a big guy like Crawford. I'm not gonna lie. I'm leaning toward Errol Spence. I got a lot of respect for Crawford, but I'm going with Errol Spence on this fight. And I said what I said.
You think the work rate is going to get him?
The work rate, the consistency, the bigger man. You know, I'm being real. Crawford coming all the way up from 130. Spence, the bigger man, man. I got Spence, man, and with the better opposition. You know what I mean? The bigger fights. Crawford, like I said, I can't take nothing away from him. He beat me. You know what I mean? But I got to go with Spence on this fight, man. Knowing boxing, I got to go with Spence.
Former Terence Crawford foe Hank Lundy, Hammering Hank Lundy, weighs in on Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford potential fight. And despite that experience in the ring, sharing the ring with Terence Crawford, he's picking Errol Spence, and he explains why. That's what I want to talk about in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you come in, smash the like button, SLC, subscribe, like, and comment. Now, you guys heard the clip at the beginning of this video. The link, as always, will be in the description from YSM Sports Media. Again, link in the description. Make sure you subscribe and check them out. They interviewed Hank Lundy, and he was uncut. He said, I said what I said. He says, I shared the ring with Terence Crawford. Now, I played some of the clip. You guys can go listen to the full interview, but I'm just going to paraphrase from here on out and give my thoughts. So basically, Hammering Hank Lundy was asked about the fight, and despite sharing the ring with Terence Crawford and going rounds and having to build up, they had some bad blood and things like that, he's picking Errol Spence. Now, he says Errol Spence, even though there's no love lost to Terence Crawford, he said he beat me, so he's clearly good, but he's picking Errol Spence. And not surprisingly, Hammering Hank Lundy, he comes from a fight town like Philly. He picked, if you listen to his breakdown, the core of what he's saying, he pretty much picked Errol Spence Jr. to win for a similar reason to Paulie Malignaggi. Now, I'll be honest with you. To be honest, it's very surprising, given the magnitude of the fight, that so far, you know, at least the early predictions that I was seeing, a lot of people like boxing legends and, you know, Hall of Famers and whatnot did not seem to be siding with Errol Spence. Now, Terence Crawford is a brilliant fighter, so I have no problem if you're picking him. But from basically some of the predictions that I was hearing outside of Hammering Hank Lundy and Paulie Malignaggi, it was heavily slanted towards Crawford. And it just, to me, it makes me believe, since this is such a pick'em fight, I don't really care about the pick, because if you pick Crawford, good. If you pick Errol Spence, good. You can make a justifiable, reasonable argument for either guy. I've always maintained that. So that's not my beef. But when said fighters were illustrating why they're picking Terence Crawford, a lot of it just didn't resonate with me, because the breakdowns didn't even sound indicative of how Crawford actually fights. They were telling Crawford, like, kind of be a ballerina, be light and fleet-footed, and, you know, just pick and prod and stick and move and frustrate Errol Spence Jr. and things like that. Now, I don't believe Terence Crawford is one-dimensional. However, we have to judge a fighter based on their recent performances. And recent performances, i.e. welterweight, I do believe Terence Crawford, he likes to mix them. He likes to engage. He likes to fight. And anybody who says otherwise is probably not that versed in Terence Crawford. He's aggressive, you know, there's no other way to put it. And when I listen to Paulie Malignaggi and I would listen to Hank Lundy, I can understand their breakdown of picking Errol Spence given what they're saying. However, like I said, there's a lot of, and I'm not going to go one by one through every single person's prediction, but a lot of the people that I've seen boxing from the boxing world and community that were picking Crawford, they were saying he has to do all these things that I don't really frequently see him do. Like I said, he's right there in front of you. Crawford is not this Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather doesn't get touched type of person. And that's basically what Hank Lundy was saying. You know, Hank Lundy is like, you got to look at Crawford's recent fights, and if you're watching, he's there and he gets hit. You know what I'm saying? And I told you that was my big question. It's not to say that Crawford can't win, but that's a big question that Crawford would have to ask or have asked and answer in this particular fight, because it's great to be a dog. But the thing that's always worried me personally with Terence Crawford, even all the fights he won, even when I picked him and stuff like that, is Crawford is so much of a dog. And if you meet a bigger dog with a little bit bigger bite, how is he going to fare? Because when it comes to durability, Errol Spence, at least from the eye test, given his resume and having the heavier names when he fought them, I think Errol Spence clearly has done the heavier lifting and has the bigger names. So I think he's proven his durability on a higher level, namely at welterweight. Crawford has proven that he's durable, but it's not against Ugas coming off a Pacquiao fight. It's not Sean Porter when Sean Porter didn't have a podcast and Sean Porter was a champion. Those types of things. It wasn't Kell Brook in Sheffield. So basically, realistically, I'm at my chocolate brownie and I'm gonna fight with Spence. He's like a Jeff Lacey. Realistically. Yeah. I need a couple things me way. So I think Errol Spence has proven his resolve at a higher rate and level based on, you know, who he fought and when he fought him and that kind of thing. He's fighting in unifications, which, you know, again, if we're being honest, I'm not here to discuss boxing with anyone who doesn't want to be honest. But again, Errol Spence has done the heavier lifting, and being honest, unifications should be held in a bigger and brighter light than non-unifications. With that being said, Crawford has 0 unifications, and he stepped in as a challenger his first welterweight fight against Jeff Horn. That's how he's a champion. And everything is a title defense, but it was against non-champions, and some of which were coming off a long layoff, shot in the leg, and dry spells or bad performances, you know, things like that. So at the end of the day, I gotta give Errol Spence's his opponents and when he fought him, I gotta rate that higher. And this is nothing new. Again, this is not to say Crawford can't win, but I think I enjoyed the Hank Lundy breakdown, because to me, if you're gonna be pro Errol Spence, not saying you hate the other person and all these games that boxing wants to play, but if you're pro Errol Spence, aka picking Errol Spence, what he said made a lot of sense, right? And I have no problem. Again, I have to say this because it's the internet and people try to manipulate and, you know, take what you say and bend it and twist it and contort your words. So I have no problem with anybody picking Crawford, like let's say Tim Bradley, but I would, the big thing that I would lean in on is I want to know why you're picking Crawford. And Bradley, when he was breaking it down, he's like, oh, Crawford drops his hands and makes these flaws. Ooh, don't do that against Errol Spence. That doesn't really show me confidence of why you're picking Crawford. Versus Hank Lundy, he said, I said what I said, and there's a level of confidence in him picking Spence. He said, I don't got nothing against Crawford, but I'm picking Spence for X, Y, and Z reasons. So I tend to resonate with a breakdown that is a bit more direct, and it doesn't sound like they're tiptoeing and like hedging their bet. He said, I said what I said. I have nothing against Terence Crawford. He beat me. He's a great dude, great fighter, but Errol's big. And that's kind of what Paulie Malignaggi said. And he said, this is a guy coming from 30, 35 and things like that. And he's fighting someone who's big, who could take it. And he also said, which was interesting, Hank Lundy, you guys got to check out the full interview, but Hank Lundy basically said that his fight with Terence Crawford, it wasn't so much Crawford's power. Like he said that wasn't the biggest puncher that he's ever faced, So you can take it for what it's worth. Obviously, diehard Bud buddies and Crawford fans are going to say Hank Lundy's hating and things like that. But, I've heard these stories before where there's a big name fighter and people assume that that's the person that hit him the hardest. Like you ask Floyd Mayweather, some people be like, oh, Maidana, De La Hoya, they're expecting Canelo hit the hardest or something like that. But let Floyd tell it. It could have been DeMarcus Corley, or it could have been Emmanuel Burton, Emmanuel Augustus. And realistically, that's not surprising. Just because someone has a big name and is a great fighter or Hall of Famer, that doesn't mean that that's the person that cracked them the hardest and they have 30, 40 fights. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't really take it as Hank Lundy was hating or anything like that. I think he's just being honest. He said there's the other dude that hit me way harder, you know, and he said Crawford, it wasn't really so much his power, his timing was on point and things like that. So, you know, they're both dogs, Errol Spence, Crawford, you really can't go wrong, but it's just surprising, I guess you could say, to see how little faith, given what Errol Spence has done and him holding the 3 belts, what level of support he's received. It's not a shade or, you know, anything against Crawford. It's just, that's just how I see it. Let me know how you guys think and what you think of Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. Also, Hank Lundy's assessment. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. And I'm out.
Wondering what's going on with you and Terence Crawford. This fight gonna happen?
I think it's gonna happen. We both want to fight. I want to fight. He wants to fight, and you know, it's going down to negotiations. So I definitely gonna get the fight this year, and we're gonna square off this year with the biggest fight in boxing.
It is the biggest fight in boxing. Where and when, if you were guessing?
I don't know where. I don't know when, but it's definitely gonna be this year.
All right, we look forward to that. Thanks for taking the time, Errol.
Thank you. No problem.
All right. It's coming up. We just don't know when, Morrow.
All right, Jim, a stellar 6 months of the boxing calendar, and boy, that would put a nice big cherry on the Sunday that is the Sweet Science in 2022. Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford. Let's get it done as we continue to get it done here.
Introducing Super Thanks right here on the official Boxing Ego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We work it.